Clearly the team was passionate about the idea. I mean, I think that's what it sounds like was one of the magic elements from the very beginning.
Yeah.
And I know you've talked a lot about the cultural aspects of the game, but that's one of the aspects of this particular development that's fascinated me the most. And creating cultural authenticity for a game like this is something that I've wondered a lot about. What were some of the things that you felt were most important and maybe unusual to create cultural authenticity for what you made?
Well, I think it actually, so that first, we had come up with this idea and, a really fairly clear idea of what the game would be, but we were afraid, intimidated by that particular issue. And we didn't know, could we do it? And even more important, could we convince Sony Japan that we could do it? Right. And that felt like an important litmus test for us was, okay, if we aren't able to convince Shu, who was actually the person we went to, that this was a good idea and that we could do this obviously with plenty of help, then we couldn't do it. So we actually, the pitch was not widely shared inside Sucker Punch initially. It was, maybe 6 or 7 people knew about it. And we took a meeting with Shu and Scott Rhodey first before, just to vet this issue, because we were so nervous about a Western team tackling this material. And it was on the strength of his encouragement, of Shu's encouragement, that that we would embark on this journey. And so we had sort of pre-vetted our concerns, and I think Shu encouraged us because I think his advice was very sage. As you know, Shu can be really, really helpful, very wise guy. And his take was, you're never really gonna fool anyone that this game, was made by Western audience, by a Western team, but you can surround yourself with resources, some of which are inside Sony and outside resources, to do this well. He's like, your goal isn't to pretend you're something you're not. Be a great version of yourselves. Go on this journey and you can do well. And it was on the strength of his support, which then turned into support from Sony Japan, which turned into, of course, the consultants that we used here in the studio in LA and around the world. All of that contributed to us tackling it. And so that's sort of the producer in me. On the creative side, I think one of the big challenges was kind of learning how we were going to talk about it. And I think we started saying, how do we do this in an authentic way? I think we actually decided fairly early that even claiming that it was authentic was wrong. That what we ought to say is, hey, we want to do this super respectfully. We want to be really curious. We want to immerse ourselves in the material and view ourselves as kind of on that lifelong learning journey. Let's view this as an opportunity to learn a ton, and to share some of that learning with our customers, and to bring some of these cultural and historical things to the market. Don't represent ourselves as historians. Don't represent ourselves as what we aren't. Know that we are Westerners trying to learn this material and then incorporate it respectfully into our game. So it was kind of, again, sort of that Shu's advice: be who you are, know who that is, and approach the material appropriately. So there was kind of a balance there. And we knew it was an original story, right? I mean, Koten Khan is an invented villain, and all of those choices are to make sure that no one thinks we're trying to represent the actual battle, even though it really did take place at this time. It really did take place on this particular beach. We know those things. We all know that there's plenty of creative license taken here, and we're not in any way trying to represent that that's not true.
How did you, when you were doing your research, actually separate fact from fiction?
Well, I think 800 years is a long time, and you find that the more you research here, that it isn't even clear that there's a general agreement on details of fact. There's very little that survives. There are some things that have survived that are, written about this, details about ship manifests and things that happen to have survived, but a ton of it is all sort of to some degree or another murky. And you use the best historians. They're both on the Japanese, and actually there's a wonderful European historian as well who's written lots about the Mongol invasions and what has happened here and what we, to the best of our knowledge, went on. And so you do that, but I think the most profound things that impacted the project aren't the history text, it's the artifacts. It's going to the museums and seeing the casings from the original bombs, if you will, the ceramic casings and the actual armor, and all of that really helps our team immerse themselves in the material, and I think shows up in the game. And so it's a combination of the things that did survive, which often are not written. They're artifacty, not texts or scrolls. Those things tend to have been lost. But overall, it's a combination of those two things.
The artifact point is a great one. I would never have thought of that. And I think for anybody who is considering creating a game that is somewhat historical or based on real cultural events that happened, it's good advice. Focus on the things that survived, those interesting artifacts. And that was actually one of my favorite parts of the game, and really sort of sucked me in and made it immersive. Like, I believed I was there. Do you have any advice for any other teams that are considering creating games that are based on a specific culture or period of history?
Be curious. I think that's kind of our mantra, is just assume that, your job is to go learn, right? Don't assume, go over and learn, and do your best. And then, surround yourself with people who, it's kind of interesting. There's the historical advice, and then there's just getting the cultural details right. Our instincts were wrong on lots of things, like, oh, everybody's going to have two names. They are all going to have first and last names. No, they really aren't. Like, in this period, Yuna is just Yuna. She's not highborn. She's probably just going to have a first name. And you don't find those in a history text. You find those because the localization team has immersed themselves in history, and they understand the culture well enough to help us. So, you have to have a partnership with people in that culture. You're never going to figure this out on your own. And you have to go in with a really curious frame of mind.
That's great advice. So let's talk about just the sheer size of the game.
Mm-hmm.
It is massive.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously everybody knows that, right? And I'm sure you and the team know it better than anybody.
Yeah.
When you were in production, did team members did they ever ask, how can we compete with larger teams that are making open world games?
It's interesting. I think there was certainly a lot of conversations about scale, and scale is everything, but let's just talk about the physical dimensioning of the world, right? Like, how big is Tsushima? So, we have a silhouette that we knew we were going to make, right? We knew that it was going to be this shaped island. But we didn't know the scale, right? I mean, there's literally just like, is that going to be 100 meters or is it going to be a kilometer? Like, who knows, right? And so one of the first things we did is we started building a scale model at different scales and just started riding the horse around, right? Trying to feel what is the right amount of scale to give us the feeling that we wanted. And if it was too small, you could sit up on a ridgeline and it would feel like both coasts on the east and west side were like right at the bottom of this hill, right? And if it was too big, it would take you forever and a day to get anywhere. And so the original scaling decisions was made based on, a rough approximation of the silhouette, just tried at different scales on the horse, that we started to say, this is the size that it needs to be to feel right. So it was completely irrational. It was not like, how many artists do we have times how many, tiles will that be? And like, we totally did it entirely based on feel.
I will say that sounds pretty rational to me. I mean,
Yeah, well,
correct me if I'm wrong here.
until you do the math and you realize how big it really is. And so then we have sort of these heart attacks about like, okay, how many miles of roads are we going to have to build to do this? And how much time does that take? And at some point there was this there, and there's a team of people who really worked, you know, we would call them the world team. They really worked on the ground itself. They weren't doing the foliage design. They were really working on getting the terrain, the elevations, the roadways, all of that to be right. And that team, I think, felt this more than anyone, the size of the world. And so they just developed this mantra, which is they would just sit at their desk and kind of do their affirmations like, the world is not big. It's not big. It's not big. And we even made them t-shirts. They would walk around in these t-shirts that the world is not big. Don't freak out. Like, you know, and
Wait, the
somehow
shirts literally said the world is not big. Is that
that's exactly what they would walk around the office with, the world is not big. And it was just that one team. And it was, you know, I think we were kind of had to kind of just live in denial and do these affirmations to overcome this massive scale that we had to take on. And the team, you know, deserves so much credit for, you know, staying calm, working the problem, continue to improve the tools where we can, you know, learn from your mistakes. And it ended up working out surprisingly well, because, you know, it's not a huge team of people. And they just, you know, they always found a way to persevere and solve the next set of problems. You just got to keep solving them. They keep coming, and you got to work the next problem and the next problem, and eventually you get to the game.
Well, it sounds like there were also, you mentioned tools. There were a lot
Yeah.
of important advancements. How important was proceduralism to you building this game?
I think the two big changes were proceduralism and sculpture of terrain in the world, in the game itself. So the sculpture actually came first. So we were working on this terrain that was so large and infamous. You know, the entire Earth, the entire ground was modeled either by hand or by, you know, assemblies. You'd make a rock and you might put 3 rocks in, but it was hand done for the entirety of the game. And you know, it's just impossible. Like, there's no way you're gonna poly mesh model the entire island of Tsushima. And of course, you're not going to texture it or do the growth of all the plants either. But we weren't there yet. We were just trying to solve the mesh solution, and so we had to go to an elevation-based height map system for the majority of what we did, and that was all new. And then we had to build in engine on the PlayStation tools for sculpting that height and persisting it out, because everything else was too indirect. Anything we did in Maya, and then you had to export and load to see it, the loop was just, you know, untenable there. So in the period of the development of this game, we built a series of tools that allowed the artists to use you know, a sculpture set of tools for flattening and pulling and pushing the terrain around. And that was the first big, I think, world-related improvement. Again, not shocking for people who maybe have worked on PC games and in big tool sets, but we didn't have that tool set. And then the second part was procedural terrain and texturing. Actually, they both have separate systems. And that was really a big change for us as well. Now, we'd known, and there's been some talks about what Horizon did similarly to generate their procedural, you know, the guys at Gorilla on Horizon used a procedural system to place some of their foliage. And obviously we felt like we had to learn from them. So we spent some time, you know, doing conference calls with them about how they thought about it, what did they do, and then we had to think about how it related to us, and the kind of places we wanted to build. But in the end, we had a system that allowed us to create effectively expressions, which are sort of like spreadsheet expressions. This is an outgrowth of our VFX system, which also uses expressions. And it would allow you to take a particular piece of foliage, maybe a fern, and write an expression that described what kind of place this had affinity for. You know, it liked places that were near water or near, you know, on relatively flat ground and so forth. And all kinds of different contextual and other clues, and then the artist could attach, individual art assets to those, and then they would grow in the world. And that was an interactive thing where they could change the formulas and regrow the section and see how it would work. And if we hadn't done that, we could have never made the game. And there's like 3 million trees in the game, so we're not going to place those by hand. So, and we did the same thing for textures, for lots of textures as well, where a lot of the beaches and things kind of are automatically informed by textures, and then the artist can go in game again and add detail and enhance that procedural version of it.
That's a great explanation, and I'm sure a lot of environment artists and programmers listening to this are going to appreciate pulling back the curtain.
Yeah, I would imagine there'll be, when and if there's a GDC with real presentations, I'm sure we'll let some folks show off all their super cool work. Yeah. So well, it was a fun project.
Well, again, speaking of the sheer size of the game, do you think there currently is still, or will be, or has always been, an arms race over game size? And a corollary question to that is, do you think that there's a difference between players and reviewers in terms of how they think about the size of a game?
I try pretty hard not to be a pundit on stuff. And so, I don't know if there's an arms race. We have a game that I think, people can complete in 20, 30 hours. They seem really satisfied with that on the gold path.
I just got to say, I think it's a heck of a lot longer than that for me, at least. So
well, and that's if you're rushing the golden path.
Yeah.
And then, you have people playing 70, 80 hours to sort of play a really deep playthrough, and they seem happy. So I don't know, satisfied customers feel like the thing that we care about. And I have not, personally, I'm not aware of a lot of backlash against the scope of the game. If anything, people love the immersion. And the most common meme I've seen is, I'm playing slow because I want to not have it end, And so I don't think we misjudge the size. The world and the scope of the game feels like it, at least, in this moment, is reasonable. In terms of, of course, players and members of the press have different takes on games and different jobs to do when they're playing the game to evaluate it. But I don't think that's a surprise that the way players feel about games is different than the way reviewers feel about games. But I don't know. That seems like that's inherent, that there's a different relationship there.
No, I agree. And I think your answer is fantastic. I mean, it is all about making players happy, right? That's what we're trying to do in the first place. So I think it's a fantastic way to look at the size. And every game has a right size, right? So that's one that
and certainly if what you're looking for is 5 minutes of fun at a bus stop, there are awesome games that I have no idea how to compete in that space. There are amazing games in that space. Ours is, you're sitting at home, you've got the control in your hands, you're 12 feet from the screen, and you want a enjoyable, empowering, perhaps relaxing time. And Ghost is our best attempt yet at addressing that need.
Yep. So moving on to sort of now looking back at things, I realize I don't ask this question enough of guests who come on to the show.
Yeah.
And it's an obvious one, but I want to ask it. So now that you and the team have had some time after launch, what were some of the biggest lessons you learned making Ghosts?
I think it started with a really clear vision, and I think we're going to really be thirsty for that, really holding ourselves to a really high standard. Don't just start your next game because it's time to start it. We benefited so significantly from that clarity of that vision. And it wasn't a small idea. It was a pretty big idea. And it wasn't make everything better, right? It was this singular, clear idea of what we wanted to make. And so I think that was a really important lesson for us, that we learned the value of that level of precision at the beginning. And again, it's an elusive thing. It's can feel a little like lightning in a bottle, but that was very valuable for us. And I think we'll learn from that. I think we also are going to take away, it's not so much a learning, that's partly both, just the value and power of continuing to invest in tools that are exactly what we need. You know, that the return on those investments is super high, and there's tons of areas that we weren't able, you know, we couldn't build every tool. And so so much, especially at our scale, you know, a relatively small team doing a game of this scope, tooling always has to be central to our focus. And we, even though I think we did a good job on tooling, I think in a weird way, my post-mortem feedback is, even though we did a good job, we should have done a better job. Like, there was more room there, that we underinvested in our tooling, in a bunch of areas. You know, some areas that got, again, massive investments, and other areas we sort of, you know, made do with what we had, and we have to go back and figure that out. I think maybe the last one was how important it was to understand the tone of what we were doing. I think the biggest challenges we had were when things just didn't fit tonally with what we're trying to do. It may have been a great feature, it may have been a great mechanic, it may have been a great, beautiful piece of art, but it just didn't fit. It was maybe too gamey, it was maybe too funny, whatever it was. Being really accountable to trying to stay on tone. Maybe it was, you know, the way the dialogue was written. So much of it was about trying to find and maintain a sharp idea of what the tone of the game was. Really helped us, I think, a lot. Oh, I'll add one final one, which was, I think, the best changes we made along the way were taking things out of the game. I think whether it was small things, lines of dialogue that were getting in the way of a moment, I think that we were, some of our very best changes were taking, just, it'll work without it. Trust the player. It will work. That you don't need to show them exactly how this is going to work. It'll work in time. Give the player space to explore. And so being willing to take stuff out of the game was a really big part of, I think, making Ghost what it was.
That's a wonderful learning for every team, right? I think we all struggle with that. I know that as somebody who also makes games, large scale games, right, the tendency is to just shove more stuff in there, right? Yep. And so having the discipline to cut and to not make it feel like a cut, right? By cutting, right, you're making the game better. It's a mind shift. It's hard to get into that.
Yeah, and you know, these are big games. You work on big games too, where, you know, it's you know, you got to have everything, right? You have to have a great story and great missions and great side missions and great progression and great collectibles, and so it is easy to get overwhelmed by how much you're trying to put in, and have that clarity to take some stuff out because it makes the game better. And I think if you're a writer, this is a familiar thing, right? It's the editing process that actually sharpens your work. If you're a coder, it's often when you remove features. You look at the success Apple has with their products. Often it's by removing features. So it is important to think about that as part of your creative loop.
You mentioned postmortems, and I imagine just about every single developer today does postmortems. And selfishly, you know, I'm always looking for a way to make them more sticky, because I think that when I talk to Insomniacs, the assumption is we do them, but then we don't necessarily enforce them because we're so busy on the next production, we kind of forget about the things we talked about. Have you found a way to make postmortems really stick?
I don't think we have any secret there. One of the things we did is we actually went back and looked at the postmortem from Second Son recently. So here you are 6 years later. Did you succeed against the things that were in that postmortem? Because it's humbling to see the things you didn't, right? But the good news is that I actually felt like we did a pretty good job. I mean, certainly, you know, 2/3 of it, I think we did a pretty good job with, and 1/3 of it we kind of screwed up. And that's okay. I mean, like, again, the goal here isn't perfection. The goal is, it's a self-improvement journey, right? It's a, I don't want to get into specific, oh, well, we didn't do this because. It's just important that a substantial amount of it actually did improve. And that seems like the important takeaway. And it's energizing for me, because it says, okay, this process can yield meaningful change. I don't think we have it's not like we, put it on in the kitchen, put it up or do something to make it stick. I think maybe I think another thing we do is we try not to let postmortems turn into a laundry list of 1,000 things. So in the same way, it's important to know what you're going to subtract. Let's make it a tractable list, right? Let's make it a list of things we actually think we could get done. Yes, I understand that we made 10,000 mistakes, but let's pick the 6 that we're really going to fix. And I think we maybe have a better chance at that if the more that we narrow down what we're going to fix, not because those other 900 ideas didn't happen or aren't important, but because we can't do everything. And if we lose our focus, then we'll end up in a situation where we didn't change. So
agreed. I mean, we can only fit so many things in our heads, right? Especially when we're talking about a new game. So that's a great philosophy. So I want to turn a little bit to just culture in general. And we talked about culture in the game, right? But this year has been an unusual year, to say the least.
Yeah.
And do you think that the social discourse we've seen, especially here in the United States, is going to affect or is affecting game dev culture?
Well, I hope so. I mean, I think we've been, you use these moments to reflect on, again, where can you be better? Just like the postmortem, you're sort of doing a postmortem of your culture, right? Are you doing as well as you want? And what are the things you're going to try and change? And, prior focuses, you might decide that you want to focus on really developing young talent and bringing in a diverse set of people to enrich the breadth of your studio. And those are important decisions about how you're going to continue to grow and sustain your culture. It's just for us a chance to sort of dwell on other the product isn't the only thing that matters. The culture of the company matters. The journey that employees have while they're part of our company really matters. And so, yeah, we have to be great at lots of things. And one of them is being a place where people feel welcome and empowered to do great work.
I agree with you. And that seems to be constantly evolving though, too, given how our society is evolving faster than ever.
Sure.
And I also really appreciate the fact that you're mentioning culture and production. I don't feel like a decade ago we would have been saying exactly the same thing, or at least giving both the same weight. And what I see happening around us and in our companies is that we are shifting more focus than ever before onto just specifically onto culture, even though culture always, has always existed and has sort of in some ways been organic in our companies. So, okay, well, thank you for that. I could talk about culture all day, but I don't want to. Sorry, I do want to. How's that? Because it's incredibly important to us. But one thing I do want to ask, the last thing I want to ask on the culture front is, are there things that you think our industry does well in terms of culture, but just doesn't really emerge very often, given that, I think given the nature of who we are as developers, we tend to focus on what's wrong, right? Every single day we're looking for bugs in our game. We're looking for problems with production. And I think the same is true when we're analyzing our own cultures. But what are some of the things that we've actually done right as an industry?
Again, you asked me earlier about the press and the fans, and I always feel like my job isn't to be a pundit. So, I can tell you what I appreciate that we've had the opportunity to do. And I think one of the things that's been awesome for Sucker Punch as a studio has been that it's been a place where so many people from so many places have come together. Whenever I talk to other local businesses here in Bellevue, they are literally shocked by the percentage of people that we recruit and bring into our team that are from outside the state, that are from outside the United States, that we bring in so many people from so many places to, to this studio here in Bellevue. And you sit at the Chamber of Commerce, and most of those businesses, literally everybody is hired from within a 30-mile radius, and it's just not the case for us. And so I think it's great for our company that we're bringing this wide range of people together, but also I think it's great for our city, and I think it's the having game companies in your community, I think, enriches the community significantly. So that's at least my experience when I speak to those other business heads, a really profound difference between our work and what the majority of the other local businesses do.
That's a great statement. I haven't heard anybody say that before, about how game developers enrich the communities they're in. I think that's wonderful. It's true. We bring in a very culturally diverse array of folks, and we also are doing things that are very, very different than the folks who are right down the street from us. So that's cool. So I usually end by asking just for general advice that you can give to people who are interested in getting into the industry. But this week, I talked to a couple of great guys who have started up a new independent development team.
Okay.
Their goal is to make big console games. And they're currently in the process of securing a publishing deal for their first game. And I told them I was going to be talking to you this week.
Okay.
And they first of all, they told me how much they love Ghost, and then shared that they would really like to get some nuggets from you specifically on what to do today, not 20 years ago or 10 years ago, when it comes to starting up a dev. So if you had to nail, give them 3 very specific pieces of advice for building an independent developer or a developer that's making console games, what would it be?
And you want me to focus this on people who are legit startups, right?
Legit startups.
Okay. So the first one is that these are from my experience. I did not have an MBA. I did not have any formal business training. I'd never run a business. So the 3 things to learn. All right. So the first one is your company is much more than the people who work for you. You're going to have a banker, you're going to have an insurance agent, you're going to have an attorney, you're going to have security people in the building that your office is in. Those are all part of what your company is. And you should make sure that you're investing in your relationships with them, because there's going to be a day where that banker is going to be able to help you through something, and where the insurance agent is going to be there for you, and your lawyer is going to be there for you. All those people are part of your team. And so if you think of it as just the people who have a business card that has your company name, you're kind of thinking about it wrong. And so that was a big help for us early, especially in the first 3-4 years. It was so valuable. I think the second is that, we made what you just described as a big console game, right? But it took us 20 odd years to get to the point where we can do this. And it was, at times incredibly difficult, even with all of that experience, to do this. So I think the second piece of advice would be, you got to pick the right sized project, that you have to, we would, one of our mantras when we were starting was, I want to put our company on terrain that is favorable for us. So to give you I talked earlier about that Abe's Odyssey moment, and we knew that we couldn't produce that. And it's not enough to want to produce it. We just didn't have the resources, the skills, the money to produce cutscenes like we're in Abe's Odyssey. And what you see that came out in our Sly series are these graphic cutscenes, right? Something we used throughout almost all of our work. And that was a direct reflection on Abe's Odyssey, actually. And it said, well, okay, we can't play the game that they're playing. We can't do that. That's not our skill set. So how do we change the problem that they're solving into a new problem that fits us? We would call this moving the goalposts. Like, okay, we can't play on that field. What about a different field? And so we changed it. And our theory of the case there was, well, what if the cutscenes were more stylized than the game instead of, more realistic? Everybody was making cutscenes, and your cutscenes was the most realistic thing. What if we went the other direction? And we found for us a solution that we could support. We could do these highly graphic cutscenes, which you may remember, and that was our answer to the question. So it was incumbent on us not to try to go head to head, nose to nose with whatever the best of the industry was, because we weren't capable of that. So knowing our limitations and saying, hey, we're going to intentionally avoid trying to go head to head on those was an important part of our business strategy. And now only, 20 odd years later, you can start to say, hey, we're going to actually try and play head to head. But even still, you look at the work that Naughty Dog does on their cinematics, and, is that really the most important thing for us to improve on? Or should we work on our melee combat? Where should we spend our resources? These decisions, I think, are incredibly important when you're small, when you're playing with less. And I think the third thing I would say that is, it reflects on our history, which is the single most important relationship you'll have externally is your publishing relationship. And you should make that decision based on the people that are there. Not your tendency will be to choose the best deal terms. And the thing that will make or break your company is the people that are behind that deal. And so, getting an extra 5% or whatever it is that some company is promising you isn't worth a hill of beans if that relationship isn't a stable, productive, mutually beneficial relationship. And we have had the luxury of being with Sony for so long. And as have, you now are back, fully in the Sony fold. And the people that I'm talking about and that you're nodding, exactly what I'm saying, and why I'm saying it, because it's such an important part of our success, is that we've had a productive relationship with our publisher.
That is excellent advice. I wish somebody had been able to tell me that 25 years ago.
Well, it does take time to learn those lessons. So
yeah. Brian, thank you so much for taking the time, and congratulations again on an amazing game.
Thank you, Ted.
Hello PAX Online, I'm Will Schick with Atomic Mass Games, and today I'm here to show you how to get your miniatures assembled. So let's dive right in and take a look. You'll notice that our miniatures don't come fully assembled. So when you get in a Marvel Crisis Protocol miniatures product or any hobby miniatures game, you're going to see them come on a frame or come in pieces like this here. This is our Thanos from the Marvel Crisis Protocol game. Now, the core tools that you will need in order to assemble your miniatures are, very simply, a pair of clippers and a hobby knife. You can find either of these things at any hobby store or local game store that carries hobby miniatures products. The last thing you're going to need is some kind of adhesive glue. There are two different options. There is plastic miniatures glue, which you can find at hobby stores and works great on hobby products like Marvel Crisis Protocol. There's also classic super glue. Super glue will also work just as well. Each has their own strengths and weaknesses. I like to have both on hand. In order to start with this assembly system, we need to clip these parts off the frame. Now, every miniatures kit typically comes with instructions that shows you how to do the build. You'll notice that each part is numbered, and that helps you identify which part you need to stick to which part. So the first thing to note is that you need to separate each part from the frame. In order to do that, you're going to take your hobby clippers, you're going to hold them in your dominant hand, and you're going to find where the injection ports are for the pieces. So you'll see like the injection ports are here on the bottom of the feet or here on the back of the shoulder pad. The best approach when clipping these off in order to minimize any damage to the piece or any excess material coming off when you clip is to make sure that the flat of the clippers, you'll notice how they're divoted, so they come down at an angle. You want to have the flat of the clippers pressed up as close as possible against the piece that you're about to clip. So you're just going to simply come in here, you're going to clip, and you're going to let it go. So now that I've clipped out my Thanos boots, I need to assemble them. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my hobby blade, and I'm simply going to look for any excess material that's left over from clipping the part off the frame. And I just simply want to clean this off. In order to do that, I'm going to put my thumb against the flat of the blade like this, and I'm simply going to use a slight scraping motion as I push against the material. The best practice when assembling the two parts is before you put glue on them, always dry fit. So fit it twice before finishing it off. The next step is to add glue. I'm simply going to run the glue across the edge of the part. Then I'm going to take the other half. Using the dry fitting that I just did, I know how to guide it up. I'm going to put the two parts together. I'm going to press firmly for about 10 seconds. Let's go to the next one. We're simply going to clean. We're going to take our glue. We're going to run around the edge. We're going to continue this for each different part until we wind up with a fully assembled Thanos. And as you move through the different parts of the miniature, you'll start to see the character come together in fantastic fashion. All of it is the joy of the miniatures hobby itself. Once your character is assembled, the last step is to attach them to their base so that they are ready for the painting table. And there you go, guys. A completed Thanos, the Mad Titan miniature, all put together. And that, PAX Online people, is a quick tutorial on how to assemble your own hobby miniatures, starting with our Mad Titan, Thanos. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Be sure to check out more content coming your way during PAX Online, and we will see you on the next one.
Hi everyone, this is Parkosaurus, and it is one of the Indie Showcase winners for PAX, which we are very happy to be part of. Wash Bear is made by a two-person team called Wash Bear Studio, and one of those people is me. I'm Chris. Hi. The game itself is a dinosaurs tycoon simulation, where you obviously take care of your dinos and expand your park. So let me give you a quick look into the game. We could do a customized game, but let's go to the world map instead. And I'm going to do one of the missions, which is Toronto, and let's start that up to have a quick look. And the first quest pops up, Dino Appeal. And this is our park. This is the one we're starting with. So this is where we're going to have to do the quest. So the first thing, we need to get 500 Dino Appeal, have 4 dinosaurs, and unlock 2 science. Okay, so various ways we can do all this. The first thing I'm going to do is see what the quest gave me. So I have a hat And hats can go in your dinos or your employees, and they have an Ankylosaurus. So I'm going to hire some people to help me first. I'm going to go to the office and go to resumes. I'm going to get a vet. I'm going to hire a janitor. Looks pretty good. And a scientist, because I will want some science. And a security. And I'm going to, you know what, I'm going to move this over here. Because I want to build my exhibit where this all is. Let's build an exhibit. I'm going to use some concrete walls first. So these are cheaper, they're pretty strong. The only catch is guests can't see through them to see the dinos, which is okay, because we'll add some other fences. And I'm going to make it just this big for now. And why don't I add some wood fence. And these will allow the guests to see in. So I'll just add some path here. And you know what? Let's drop our egg while we're at it. And if I fill this up with grass, most of this is already grass, so let me fill the rest with grass. There. So this exhibit now I can click anywhere on the wall or on the ground and it'll pull up the exhibit pane. And there's a lot of interesting information here. And we're trying to get the taiga biome. So you can see we have to add some ruggedness and some wetness. So let's go ahead and add water. And you can see it's transforming, and there we go. We just got over to the rainforest. But we need to get up to taiga, so we wanna add some ruggedness. I'm gonna do that with the train tool. Add a mountain here. There we go. Now, let's hatch our dino. No, let's make a perfect exhibit. So now you can see here we need some bushes, some trees, and some rocks. So I'm going to go ahead and add those. Okay, you can see the meters filling up. I want some bushes that are meant for grass tiles. And you can see biodiversity is filling up. And I want to finish it off with some rocks. So granite. Perfect. Biome looks pretty good. Let's hatch our dino. There we go. This is Olive, our first dino. And people are going to start watching Olive. Pretty cool. And got to get some donation boxes for them to give money. There's a lot more to do. We have to get food and a door on the exhibit so the vets can inspect the dino. And yeah, there's lots to do. So, but I just wanted to give you a sneak peek into how this game works, and there you go. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this, and if you have a chance, check out Parkosaurus. You can get it on Steam currently. Yeah. Alright, thanks.
What do you think it's like here? being a kid in the hospital. How do we feel? Are we all the same? No. We are each our own, different. Some of us are here for an hour, some of us, months. We all experience different things, but we all share one thing. We all just want to be kids. And that's where you come in. Because of you, we have a new way to play, a new way to make things better. And you helped us get just the right people to make it all happen, including one of the first gaming technology specialists in the country.
Every day I get to come into work and use technology to help kids feel better. This includes gaming on consoles, it also includes 3D printing, and even includes immersive technology such as augmented and virtual reality. Not only do we use this technology for fun, but we also get to use it to help kids get through treatments and for procedure supports so they can heal faster and get home quicker.
It feels like you're a kid again when you're playing video games.
Not only that, because of Child's Play, we also have the world's first child life medical director.
Not only do I get to help develop and manage these programs, I get to promote the mission of child life throughout Children's Hospital Colorado and the community.
And you help us figure out how to do all this even better.
We're conducting research on how we can use these new and emerging technologies to establish best practices to benefit our patients and families, to improve the experiences, and how we can leverage this technology in really fun and innovative ways.
So, we just want to say thank you. Thank you for helping us be kids. Thank you for helping us play. Thank you for helping us heal.
Welcome to the very best Ranking the Pokemon Spinoffs, a PAX Online panel. My name is Kyle Stevenson, a Pokemon novice too afraid to wander into the tall grass along Route 1, and I will be moderating this shiny panel. That's right, I've only played Gen 1, and I am the one moderating this gym battle. Thank you for joining us for this historic moment in games journalism, Kinda NYC's first ever PAX panel. And to help us with this legendary task of ranking these offshoot Pokemon adventures, Kinda NYC is thrilled to join forces with a couple of our friends from Uppercut. Without further ado, let me introduce today's panelists, and as we introduce ourselves, please let everyone know who your favorite Pokemon is. Representing Kinda NYC, we have Mike Towndrow.
Hi, Toxtricity most of the time.
Jacob Palmer.
Sylveon, all the time.
Matthew Wright.
Mew.
And from Uppercut, Ty Gallis-Rowe.
Hi, Snom.
And Jessica Howard.
Hi, Growlithe.
And for what it's worth, mine is Charmander. I know, Gen 1. Basic AF over here. First and foremost, who is Kinda NYC and Uppercut? Mike, tell us a bit about Kinda NYC.
Sure. Kinda NYC is a group of content creators with the goal of amplifying the voices of independent game developers along with their stories and the experiences they shape through podcasting, streaming, community events both online and in person, like at events like PAX, but obviously when the world is not on fire.
How about yours?
I
always have to say that no matter.
I know.
And anytime someone says world isn't on fire. And Ty, tell us a little bit and everyone else about what is Uppercut.
Yeah, so Uppercut is an outlet devoted to highlighting marginalized voices in the games industry through podcasting, videos, and primarily writing. We do cover other media as well, but we are largely games focused. And we just try to look at the stuff we love critically and make sure that every voice is being heard.
Absolutely. And you're doing a kick-ass job over there.
Yeah, dude.
So thank you for doing that. And before we get to the battle, let's do some icebreakers, shall we? Here are some Pokemon fun facts that were taken from a 2013 Games Radar article written by Henry Gilbert. Gold and Silver were planned as the final Pokemon games.
That's wild.
It's very wild.
Would
that have been
did not happen.
Again,
know, right?
Gen 1 person over here. Would that have been a fitting end to Pokemon if that was it?
No.
I mean, the way Yes
the way
and
they set
no.
up the way they set up the story, like, yeah, it's great you go back to Kanto, but I wouldn't want that to be the end.
Yeah, no, because like Gen 3 is also just so good.
Yeah, Gen 3
Like,
slaps, dude. That's
Yeah.
like my favorite generation.
Yeah.
Game Freak, the developer of Pokemon, got its start as an early 1980s small game enthusiast magazine.
Interesting.
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought?
You love to see
Now
it.
look where they are. Look where they are now.
Look where they are.
Look at us.
Look at us.
Game Freak was
Weird.
my second ever email address. My first one was YoungLink93.
Jess,
at
you're so
Yahoo.
cool. You are so cool.
The coolest.
And then it was like Game Freak Girl. Anyway,
Very
You're
nice.
a
fun
dork.
fact. That's my fun fact for the panel.
One of our top 10 for spin-offs, which we'll get into in a little bit, Pokemon Puzzle League was never released in Japan. Intended for US fans of the anime, it was decided that the N64 had gotten too unpopular in Japan to make importing worth it, and it remains the only Pokemon game not officially released in Japan.
I can't imagine there not being a Pokemon game that's US exclusive or not released in Japan.
Yeah.
Go back and
Can you
play
imagine them
Puzzle
doing
League.
that nowadays?
Yeah.
I just like that they were like, nah, people like the N64. That's
Yeah.
The N64 was so good. That's one of my favorite consoles.
That is my favorite console.
I've
yeah,
never
it's
touched
amazing.
one.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, and them treating it like an Xbox 360, like, nah, we're good. We don't need this.
Especially because Nintendo is like from Japan. I like that they were like, our own console is not popular enough, so we're just gonna bench that guy.
Yeah. Nobody likes Tetris Attack in this house.
And the final fun fact is Pokemon Snap was originally for the 64 disk drive and not a Pokemon game. Pokemon were added to the game after development on the photography title had begun, and it was also intended for the seemingly revolutionary N64 disk drive. Of course, when that add-on flopped in Japan and was canceled in America, those plans obviously changed.
What do you think we were photographing in that original game?
Right? Just basic
Animals, I guess. Yeah, it's weird. I can't imagine a world without Pokemon Snap, and we'll understand why in a little bit.
Yeah.
When I'm screaming at all you about cameras.
But we're not here for fun facts, y'all. We're here to crown a Pokemon spin-off champion. Here's how we got down to the top 10. Out of the 48 qualifying spin-off games, the community has voted and decided the top 10 we will be ranking on today's panel. There were some omissions from the initial list, though. So, Mike, how about you tell us a bit more?
Sure. So the most prominent ones that I feel like people are going to yell at us for are the Let's Go series. The Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee. I made the executive decision and decided that is more mainline than spinoff. I don't think it's a mainline or a spinoff. I think it's like right in the middle because it is just a remake of Yellow. But like, granted, it has like the Go mechanics and it like doesn't have the core mainline RPG catching mechanics, but it's still just, it's a remake of Yellow. It's still an RPG. Like, nah. I feel like the votes would have been swayed way too geared towards Let's Go Pikachu.
If it was
and
on
Eevee.
this list, it would have been high.
It would have been
Like,
number one.
It's a
I feel
good
like.
game.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic game.
It was more of a game to bring people from Pokemon Go over to the main series. It was like a nice stepping stone for that. So I don't feel like it should be part of a spinoff.
Yeah.
So
That was their
I
bridge to
agree.
get the casual Go audience to the Switch.
Yeah.
So
Which is a lot of people.
Yeah. So that's why Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu are not on this list. Obviously, there are a lot of Japan-only releases, and we live in North America, and we did not get to play those, so we are not putting those on this list. A couple examples I have. Before Pokemon Stadium 1, there was actually Pocket Monster Stadium, which was the first true spin-off released in '98 in Japan. The stadium that we know and love is actually Pocket Monsters 2. Pocket Stadium Monsters 2, or Pocket Monster Stadium. Too many words. That's why it didn't work in
It's a weird
name. Another one was Pokemate, which was actually developed by Square Enix. It's a mobile-only release in 06. I have no idea what it is.
I have questions.
I know, right? But obviously, again, Japan only, so we did not get to play it. And then finally, games like Pokemon Unite and New Pokemon Snap are not out yet. So obviously, at least by the time of this recording, God, please, I hope when this panel goes out, New Pokemon Snap is out. But since they're not out right now, at the time of this recording, we are not going to be ranking them.
Yeah, so that is how we got to the 48 that were on that list. And here are the top 10 as voted on by the community in no particular order. We got Pokemon Snap, Pokemon Go, Pokemon trading card game from the Game Boy Color, Pokken Tournament on the Wii U and Switch, Pokemon Pinball, Game Boy Color, Pokemon Coliseum on the GameCube, Pokemon Conquest on the Nintendo DS, Pokemon Stadium on N64, Pokemon Puzzle League on the N64, and Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team DX on the Switch.
I feel like that one's gonna get a lot of salt.
That
the remake got in like over the original or any of the originals.
The new one's cute.
We'll get there.
We'll get there.
I just like the chubby little friends. They got kerchiefs. It's a good time.
Before we get into the battle, my question to everyone here on the panel, we'll start with Jake. What do you like for a spinoff? And what does a Pokemon spinoff have to do to keep that Pokemon magic?
So for a spinoff for me, I don't want the RPG elements of a Pokemon game. The RPG elements are perfect with Pokemon, the main series. That's it. Now, when a spinoff comes around, like let's say Pokemon Go, that's totally different. You're going around catching Pokemon throughout the real world. It's something new and unique and exciting. Pokemon Pinball, like I love pinball itself. Like a pinball game, it like just made for me. So something that's totally different and unique. That's what I want. And then just to keep that magic going, like, I mean, I'm going to make the argument later, but something to keep doing something new and exciting. I don't want to go too much further into that comment because I'm going to talk about it later, but
yeah,
just something that's refreshing and something different as well.
Yeah. Jess, what about you?
Okay, I guess what I look for, it's going to be kind of a similar answer. I want it to separate itself from like the mainline series, the RPG elements, and I look for something that kind of, I guess, capitalizes on like traits that belong to a Pokemon, if that makes sense. Like, I like Mystery Dungeon because it's like that curiosity element, that explorers. I think Conquest is really cool with like going into the tactical side of it, and having that be a thing. I think that, stuff like Snap obviously is more about like the cuteness of Pokemon. And so I don't know, like I think that if it leans kind of harder into something that's not just like the Pokemon journey and like the trainer experience, that's what I look for.
Awesome. Matt, what about you? What do you look for in a Pokemon spinoff?
I mean, it's hard to say the same thing.
Yeah,
not sound like I'm repeating myself. But yeah, essentially staying within that world, seeing new parts of it, keeping the magic alive. It's hard not to be magical when you have a game about Pokemon, as long as it's not, rampant with microtransactions, as we'll hear later. Pokemon's magical.
Sweet. Ty, what about you?
I really, really like when the games go out of their way to show a different part of the world. So kind of like what Jess was saying, where it's not just focused on the trainers, like Mystery Dungeon, they're doing their own thing and they have their own whole little society, really. I'm trying to think of other spinoffs I actually super, super like. And I think I kind of wish that more of them were like, here's like what breeders do, and like here's a contest game and stuff like that. A weird one I'm thinking of is I actually like, I don't know if I like it as a game, but I like it conceptually, the Magikarp Jump one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I like the idea of people just being like, yeah, man, we're gonna get these fish to jump.
What about you, Mike?
I look for a unique spin on, or a unique take on, the main mechanic of Pokemon, which is catching. So like for Pokemon Snap, you are capturing photos. For Pokemon Pinball, you are trying to complete certain tasks in order to shoot a pinball into a Pokemon that appears to capture it that way. It's just like, it is that spirit of Pokemon and completing the decks and catching them all, but a very unique take on that, like very old school classic mechanic. As far as the magic goes, like I want to still feel like I discovered a new Pokemon in the wild grass. Like when in Pokemon Snap, when like the Meowth pops up and scares you when you throw the Buster Ball or an apple at him on the cliff, like, and he just shouts at you. That feeling is just so like humble and like surprising and like just fun, and that magic is just so, there's nothing that could beat that kind of magic.
Awesome. So I guess without further ado, it's battle time, everybody. If you're hearing that music, that means let's get into it. So let's see if these spin-offs have all those things that everyone here on the panel is looking for. So let's start with the most recent one and Pokemon's start of the trend of worrying about our health. Jake, let's talk about Pokemon Go.
Let's talk about Pokemon Go. I have spent so many hours on this game. I've played this since the beginning. There's just something magical about pulling up your phone, walking around, seeing different Pokemon on the map, and being able to click on it and capture it. It feels like you're an absolute like real trainer, like you're finding these Pokemon in the real world. It started off a little rough. I mean, how many people downloaded this game? How many people downloaded this game when it first began? But to see the evolution of this game, to see where it is now, is absolutely amazing. They have their problems as a company for Niantic. They have their issues, and I will always hold them accountable for they should not be doing. That does not make sense. I will always hold them accountable for it. But I can't take away the magic that they created and the friendships that I made for this game.
I think to give credit where credit's due. When I think about the last, when did Pokemon Go come out? The last 5 years. Yeah. When I think about games that have that have gone beyond, I guess, just attracting gamers and have gotten more people into gaming, which is something I am about because I think gaming is for everyone. It's just about finding the game that speaks to you. The two games that stand out recently are Animal Crossing New Horizons, which it's so funny to say that because I literally, there's this influencer I follow on Instagram, right, who is totally health body positive. And now she's sponsored by Nintendo because she keeps talking about Animal Crossing. And that's how much it's reaching. It's just bleeding over into other things. And Pokemon Go started that. Pokemon Go is the other thing that I think of. That wasn't just something that was for gamers. It wasn't for Pokemon diehard fans. The whole reason Let's Go happened was to get people who were playing Go into Pokemon because Let's Go had such a massive following of people who weren't gamers. And I think that's pretty incredible.
Yeah. To pull people like that you hear stories all the time, hey, my dad wasn't in a good situation, he wasn't doing good health-wise, and then they started playing Pokemon Go, and just be able to go out, catch Pokemon, and it's just a fun interaction, just hearing from stories like that of people getting healthier playing Pokemon, which doesn't sound like that should be a thing at all.
And it just physically connects people. I remember doing a community day last year at some point in Union Square Park, and the amount of just friends we made, or just random strangers that walked up to us oh my God, you're doing this raid, all right, let's do it. And just that instant sensation of being a part of a community is really special. And Pokemon, at the end of the day, as cheesy and hallmarky as this is gonna sound, it's about friendship, it's about partnership, it's about making connections, and it's really
fun to play.
Yeah,
that's okay. Now let's talk about the negatives where it doesn't belong.
Okay, so my thing too with Pokemon Go, right, is going off of Jess's point, I think it did a really good job of revitalizing the series for younger people too, because how many times can you reboot Red or whatever, right? Past a certain point it's gonna get old. But doing Go, that's a whole new way to be hey, there are these fun little monsters and you can go out and play with your friends and run around a park and find them, which I don't think is that fun to do actually, playing, segging into what we're talking about, but not everything is for me.
Right. I think the core mechanic of let's say the battle system in it, just
and I will admit tapping to attack is probably the most boring thing out of the whole entire game. But people love the PvP section, now that they have PvP. But I'm just I can't just sit there and do this. I can't even do that. It just gets so annoying. But there's certain strategies to timing the charge attacks. There's certain strategies for that. But if I want battles, I'm going to the main series. I can't do it in Pokemon Go.
Even that's the catching, they don't when you if you're just opening up Pokemon Go for the first time, they don't tell you what the hell the catching mechanic is. None of us knew what the hell that circle meant when we initially played. It took us months to figure that shit out.
To learn you could do a curveball throw.
That's it. Like there's such a barrier to entry.
So as a community-driven tool to bring people together, old and new, it's fantastic. As a Pokemon game, not so much. When I can't find any Pokemon near me and I have to, it's like, oh, hey, there's a Charmander a mile away. No.
Yeah, it is a bummer for people who live in more like remote areas.
Yeah, I mean, that would be the biggest thing that I would immediately kind of dock points for is I think that it's not the most accessible game. For a lot of kids who liked the game, if you don't have a smartphone or whatever, it's not something you can play on a console. You have to, your parents have to have like a cell phone plan for you. You have to have that.
Yeah.
It's for anybody in a rural location.
How fast does that eat your battery?
Yeah, exactly. And that too, it eats your battery. And then, I mean, even the actual like motion of having to hold that and slide, a lot of people have difficulties with it.
That's true.
And that's also kind of a bummer. You would think that they would make, something a little bit easier for people who might not have that.
Yeah, or like at least alternate control schemes or something, you know.
They did. They charged you money for it though with the stupid PokeWatch.
We got to put Go at 1.
Yeah,
just so because we got 9 more games to go through, and I don't want to hear about the millions of dollars that Go is bringing in and cheating parents out of money. So let's go to a puzzling game. Let's go to Puzzle League. Matt, tell us about this gem of a game.
This gem of a game, Pokemon Puzzle League. Okay, I will stick to the positive until I can't anymore. Pokemon
Matt,
Puzzle
there is
League?
only positive. You
Pokemon Puzzle League opens up with the anime. So they got the full voice cast for the U.S. English Pokemon cartoon. At the time, we called it a cartoon. We didn't know any better. To voice these characters, and there's a championship going on in Pokemon Puzzle League Village.
Yes, and
it's original. That's original. So they do have the voice cast. You're able to choose your trainer. One player stadium mode. You play as Ash, and you can choose from Pikachu, Squirtle, and Bulbasaur. No Charmander. So already out the gate, I'm not okay with this.
Already talking
and
the Fire Boy is for the gays. How dare they?
Release the flamers.
The game plays exactly like, probably because they took the code from it, Tetris Attack from the Super Nintendo. But the assets and everything in the game just feels so cheap. This is probably why Japan was like, nah, we're good. The characters only have like 3 lines during the battles, and you will hear that line over and over and over again, depending on what action you do during this. I will give it credit. It is a challenging game. Like if you love Tetris Attack, Tetris games, it's fun in that respect, but it gets old pretty quick when you have to hear the same thing over and over again. The one saving grace of this game, it uses music from To Be a Master, the soundtrack that has a bunch of Pokemon songs.
Hell yeah.
I do. Yeah. The 90s kid in me was like, okay, all right. Yeah, take me back.
What I remember from this game, I remember what the case looked like. It was like purple and it was really cool looking. And I thought it was like going to be a lot different than it was. But I'm not a huge Tetris fan. I remember on the N64, the game that came out, because I played that game. I played Puzzle League, but I was in love with the game Bust-A-Move, if anybody remembers that 64 game.
Bust-A-Move. Yep.
Oh, big time obsessed with that game. And so like I got this game and I was like, okay, like I saw like the little box. I'm like, okay, maybe this is like that. And I saw the squares. I'm like, oh, this is like Tetris. And if this game came out as like a $2.99 mobile game now, I'd be like, sure, why not? But like for like an N64 game when I was a kid, it's just like kind of like, you know, you open up your present and you're expecting like something cool and you get like literally a puzzle and you're just
Puzzle
like,
League.
Thanks.
Jess was a real gamer before any of us.
I don't know. I'm clearly way more positive about this game. I think this game is such a delight, and it's so damn fun to play. I love Tetris Attack, and this is Tetris Attack with a Pokemon skin on it, and it's so good.
It is, but it's not a well-budgeted Pokemon skin. Go look at the values, the artwork of Tetris Attack, and then go play Pokemon Puzzle League in 2020.
Listen, we didn't have that much money back in the early 2000s, all right?
What, you wanted Squirtle in HDR?
No, I'm just picturing like a little like cardboard Pikachu on a popsicle stick in the corner.
I believe
It's
that
not
too.
far away from that.
I don't know, man. I to me, this is it's fun. Is it going to be like top 5? Probably not, but I'll just start the conversation.
This is like a 7 or an 8 to
Well,
me.
Yeah.
I'll start the conversation. I think it's better than Pokemon Go.
Okay, well that's where we gotta decide. Is
Are
it
you
taking over in the one spot for right now?
No, you cannot
it
have
can't.
one
It
person
can't.
put Pokemon Puzzle League over Pokemon Go. I will kill a on this podcast today.
Whoa!
Listen, okay, I feel like at a certain point, cultural relevance is a category in my mind. Everyone's heard of and played Pokemon Go. This game wasn't even welcome in its home country.
Yeah,
It was too good for its home country.
There it is. Just shut it down. Shut it down.
I'm sorry, Mike. You are a delight. I love you, but
I love you too.
I think that if it was excommunicated from its own country, we have to respect Japan's wishes.
So with that, I was just gonna put it at 2, just for the hell of it.
Oh, go
I'm
ahead
putting
and
it
drop
down
it
to
to
10.
think
Don't you
think
dare. Thank you.
Sure,
Do
I
it.
think it-
Do it. Yes.
Sure.
You are the moderator. All praise Kyle.
Let's move on.
Kyle, fair.
Let's get into Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team DX. Ty, take it away. You mentioned the chubby friends. What about this
I
game?
love them. Okay, so Pokemon Rescue Team was, I believe the first one was on the DS, right?
Game Boy Advance.
Yeah. I think
Game
it was
Boy
amazing.
Advance.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I thought it was DS.
Okay, I think I played it on the DS because I think I put my Game Boy cart in my DS. But I got Pokemon Mystery Dungeon DX on the Switch this year, and that's just fun, dude. Like, you get to do your little quiz, and you get to be, I don't know how they choose which Pokemon you can be, but it's a very eclectic mix. I got to be a Totodile, which is just a little chubby alligator.
In my mind, I heard I got to be a toad. I was like, that actually makes sense for a Pokemon Mystery Dungeon game for you.
I mean, honestly, but
Toad
yeah,
Mystery
I got
Dungeon?
to be a Totodile, and I think my partner was a Charmander, maybe? I don't remember. Oh no, my partner was a Cubone. And that in and of itself slaps. I love that you get to be like little talking Pokemon that have their own society. And also it's funny because like you're a human who gets turned into a Pokemon, and that's like a really weird angle of it that like does not become relevant until like the end of the game again. Like they bring it up at the front and they're like, that's weird, right? And then you're like, well, I guess I'm a Pokemon now, and you just like get your little rescue team job, and like
You
I
find
don't
out
know
they're
why.
actually like a dad and you have like 3 kids at home.
Your wife left you. Like,
Like it's just I truly love that this game is just like, you're a Pokemon now, and you're like, okay, and like just
like-
live your life.
something we should clarify also as we're like continuing to talk about these spinoffs. Pokemon f***ed up.
Yeah, it is.
This game,
It's
I now
weird.
know what it is. It is a spin-off as your dad in all the main series Pokemon because you never know where the hell he is. He got turned into a Pokemon. This is this game.
It all connects.
Yeah.
You're Ash's
Brilliant.
dad. Yeah, so I just think it's fun. Like the whole thing is based on like Pokemon forming these little teams and deciding like if there are natural disasters or if like Pokemon get stuck in dungeons or whatever, you go in and save them. And like that's a cute premise. And I like the idea of like you see this little Pokemon community and they have a store and they just have like this little whole town center, and like when you meet new Pokemon in the dungeons, you're not capturing them, but if you've set up tents or camps or whatever in the right environment for a Pokemon and they work with you, there's like a chance that they'll decide they want to come with you, and then you can have more friends, and then you can switch up your team, and everybody has different abilities. And also like I like it because it's kind of a more low key dungeon crawler. Like it's not like a Persona where you're like going through a scary dungeon and like fist fighting demons or whatever. It's just like, oh look, there's a Chikorita.
I do that enough in real life.
Just some
Yeah,
clarification. So Red Rescue Team came out on the Game Boy Advance. Blue Rescue Team came out on DS.
Okay, so I played Blue Rescue Team.
I will say this game appeals to me in 3 ways, okay? It's rooted in compassionate acts. That's really cute.
Yeah.
chubby little Pokemon are cute. It also, as that astrology, that Myers-Briggs test taking.
Yeah, represent.
I love any sort. Oh, I said it bad. I'm sorry. Growlth
fine.
noise.
Growlith.
Growlth. But I love anything that allows me to take a personality test. I took it. I got Pikachu, and I was like, yeah, I am kind of an ornery little butthead. Love it.
Also, the backgrounds in this game are very pretty.
Yeah. The art
they're
style
cute.
of this whole game is like so unique and just welcoming.
Shout out to the Switch for like proving that it doesn't have to be the fanciest looking as long as you lean really heavy into that artwork and you do something
that's
truly unique
Nintendo.
and beautiful. I love that.
Switch is all about art style. It's great.
Well, the question now is this traditional Pokemon video game spinoff, does it overtake Go as the number one spot?
I never
It
played
sounds
it, but
very
yes,
cute.
it sounds like it.
Yeah.
For me, it's like it's hard because Pokemon Go is always a game that's going to be updating. It's always going to have something new and something. Mystery Dungeon stops at a point.
But
and trust me, Mystery Dungeon has shiny Pokemon, so it's high up on the list for me. Don't judge me, Mike. But I feel like with Go, there's just something more about Go because of the whole experience with other people, in my opinion. Shake your head.
I'm
you
kind
can never,
of with
you can
Jake,
never
even
use
though like
its-
I love Mystery Dungeon. I think it and like
Yeah.
yeah, but like I think there is something to be said for the fact that like Go can continuously be like a community thing. Like you're never gonna have Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Fest, you know?
But you can you can't use it's more fun with people as an excuse for a game to be better. You have to test it on its laurels of being able to play by itself.
I have to go with my heart on this because like there's a part of my brain that wants to say maybe Go should go in front of it because of the cultural significance. But I think at a certain point you have to be like, but what did I have fun with? And I think Mystery Dungeon is more fun.
I'm agreeing with that. That's what I was going through my head as well. That's what it sounded like to me. That discussion. So Go is now at number 2. Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team is at 1. Speaking about fun, segue, Pokemon trading card game.
What the hell was that
segue? Listen, sir.
It was fun. Card games on the Game Boy.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Game Boy Color Pokemon trading card game. Matt, you want to talk to us about this trading card game on the Game Boy Color?
I think Mike should talk about this one because if I talk about it, I'm not gonna make Mike happy.
Sure. So I think this game is incredibly special for one simple reason, that it got so many people into the trading card game and it actually taught people how to play the game. I think the actual the mechanics of roaming around the world and stuff like that, they tried to replicate the top-down nature of the mainline RPGs. It sort of worked, but it was just a way to get you from each the next card battle. And I kind of wish they sort of stripped that back. Like they tried to throw a story in there with gym battles and stuff like that, but it was fine. It worked. It was serviceable. But the magical thing about this is that it actually taught you how to play the card game in real life.
How does it hold up though?
Yeah, that was my
tried
thing.
playing it recently.
The Pokemon noob here amongst us all, this is the one game I do have some experience with.
Ooh,
and
okay.
I just remember being so frustrated over one mechanic in this game, and it's a trading card game in general, but it feels like in this Game Boy Color version, whenever my opponent had to flip a coin for extra damage, it constantly landed on heads for extra damage, for 5 times in a row. It would ruin me. So that really bummed me out in this game. The only positive to this one though is it felt as somebody that couldn't get all the cards when I was younger, buy the packs, the fact that I could just have all the cards I wanted in this game, it felt like I could still see the cards and see what these Pokemon do in this card game without having to spend a ton of money on actual physical cards, was a nice little thing for me.
Yeah, it's hard for me to put the trading card game so high on the list. For me, it was a very frustrating game. It was very difficult. It did feel like no matter what, all the opponents were against you. When it comes to tossing the coin, whatever, just they're always gonna win it.
Like definitely bad ref.
Yeah, and I feel like when it comes to trading card games, I feel like Yu-Gi-Oh does it better when it comes to these types of games.
100%. Yeah.
I'm making an executive decision here. I am bumping Puzzle League up to 9.
Yes.
I'm going to put the TCG game down at 10.
100% agree.
That's fair. I think that's fair.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Totally.
All right. Let's move on to Jess, Pokemon Stadium N64.
Oh my
Why
gosh,
is that one
I'm
special?
so excited. Because it's the best game ever. Not really. That makes it sound like it's actually my favorite game of all time. But
I was like, Jess, where did this come from?
I love, I was about to say a bad word, but we'll avoid those noises. I love that game. I don't know. I feel like maybe the gap in like my N64 library was Mario Party. I never got super into those until I was actually in high school, and all my friends made it a drinking game. Very fun that way. Do recommend.
In high school.
Yeah, but where my mini game love, I guess, was with Pokemon Stadium. I still remember probably every single mini game. I remember the Clefairy pointing, the Magikarp, the Rattata run, the Diglets that you have to like harden in the Metapods, and even just like doing the actual battles, like the intended thing for that game. They were fun too, and I liked kind of having that whole library to choose from, because you kind of got to play like, okay, I'm going to play very similarly to like my actual, like my team in the games, like, and have a really well-rounded team. But sometimes I would challenge myself and be like, if I were a gym leader and I were a ghost gym leader, what would my roster be? And then you get to pick all of those. And so it's like, it's fun. It just lets you kind of like live out that fantasy of like, okay, I'm going to do all dog Pokemon. I'm going to do all fire types and see how I fare. And sometimes, yeah, you get your butt handed to you, but it's fun to try it out. And like I said, my sisters and I had an amazing time doing all those mini games. So much fun. It's just a fun game. I really do love it. And it's cute. It has like a cute little like layout to it as far as what the town looks like. I like it.
And very important, like it was the first time you were able to play a mainline Pokemon series on your TV if you wanted to, if you had the extra expansion, which was awesome.
Not the first time. Super Game Boy for Super Nintendo.
Oh, okay. I apologize.
That's right. That's right.
The first mainline time. Nobody
I
had
didn't know that. I thought it was the first one.
But you were able to bring your team into the game, which was
and you can bring your team into the game if you want to. I love that they had like, I forgot what the actual leagues were called, but you could play like just level 5 Pokemon, just level 50, just level 100. It's really cool. And like you said, like you have the full library of, at this time, the full library of Gen 1 that like if you never play it as a Horsey for whatever reason, you could play as a Horsey if you want to. It was really cool. That was a bad example, but you know what I mean.
For a split second, I forgot there was a Pokemon named Horsey, and I thought you just were doing a cute name for a horse.
I also had to think about like how that was spelled for a second, and I was like, is Mike talking about a Ponyta, or is he talking about the little seahorse one? Because either could be true.
Either relevant.
No, what's funny is I think that Stadium also helped me form what I wanted my team to be in the games as well. Because I think when I first played, I was a kid. Or at least I never was somebody who was like obsessed with the stats. I was just more like, oh, this one looks like a Horsey. That was Ponyta, and I like that one. And so then I played that game, and I was like, Gengar is good. I like this mean purple man. And Starmie, like it definitely helped form like what I wanted when I went back to the game.
So, Jess, where would you rank this on the list right now? Right now, we got 1 Mystery Dungeon, 2 Go, and then we have Puzzle League and Trading Card Game down at 9 and 10. So where would Stadium go?
I would say 1 because I'd put it over Mystery Dungeon.
No, Kerchief!
Yep.
I'm sorry. I would. I really would.
No.
Mike, tell us about your trials and tribulations with Pokemon Conquest.
Oh, this is gonna be a real short conversation. So
that's why we're doing it now.
Disclosure: none of us have played Pokemon Conquest. Really, I
watched that trailer though.
So last night I put 20 minutes into this game. It turns out the new 3DS and old DS games do not really work together. The game hard crashed on me multiple times. But that's not to the game's discredit. Like when we did our old podcast, when we were ranking all the mainline Pokemon games, Pokemon Black and White also hard crashed on me, and Diamond and Pearl also hard crashed on me. It sucks. Anyways, this game is developed by Koei Tecmo, who you would know from the Dynasty Warriors series, Hyrule Warriors, Fire Emblem Warriors, and guess what? This game has a lot of warriors in it, but it's not like those games. It's this is essentially Fire Emblem Pokemon.
Fire Emblem
Pokemon.
Tactical RPG.
Tactical turn-based RPG. The whole shtick is that like you are a warrior in this new land, and there's this legend that if you're a warlord in this land, and if you take over the 17 regions in the world, you will become a legend and awaken this legendary Pokemon. So the whole mechanic or the whole basis of the game is that you're trying to go to different regions, you're training your Pokemon, you're going to different regions, building an army to kind of take over the whole kingdom to awaken this legend.
How menacing.
It's a lot.
Yeah, that's like a really aggressive Pokemon storyline.
Again, Pokemon is f***ed up. Pokemon sound.
I love that they were really just like, time to use the Pokemon for imperialism.
Yeah. And I know this game was
according
originally...
to the wiki, the Pokemon only use one move.
Yes, Pokemon only use one move. You start out with the Eevee, but it does have like a really cool mechanic of that like each warlord has, because you can build a whole team of different people and stuff. Each warlord has a special ability. So I think my special ability, or like your character's special ability, is that it lets you roam, like it lets you move throughout the entire map. The one partner I had who had a Jigglypuff, she could heal all the Pokemon on your team. And then there's also like sort of like the mainline games where your Pokemon have each Pokemon has hidden abilities. So like my Eevee, if it attacked somebody or if it attacked a Pokemon, it could automatically move again to attack, which is a cool like spin and like kind of a response to doing the whole one attack kind of thing to make it a little more like accessible. And then just a fun fact about this game, I know it was originally planned to be a Dynasty Warriors like game, but yeah, clearly they wanted to do something different, and kudos to that team for actually doing something different. From what I played of it, really, really damn cool. I would love to actually play this if my new 3DS would like to let me. But
yeah.
And
I think because of our lack of experience with it, I have to put it at 10.
I don't know.
I think that's,
okay.
No.
Yeah.
So
It seems cooler than the trading card game. That's just like in premise.
Honestly, I know I was talking a lot about Puzzle League. I would put it above Puzzle League.
Okay.
I'm fine with that. I feel like I love Final Fantasy Tactics. I love Fire Emblem. I love any sort of like grid-based tactical game. So mechanically, it sounds really interesting and fun. I'm a little hesitant about the use of Warlord and Conquest.
It's a little weird.
Seems like a very bold statement for Pokemon to make with one of its games, but I think that it's fair.
I would say also like in that regard, like the art style wise, it's very like much based on like feudal Japan kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's a cool spin on that whole
spin
thing.
You say?
Spin,
Segue. Pokemon Pinball. Game Boy Color is also on this list. That's a good segue. Fight me.
That's
on
a great. That was a segue.
That was a good one. That was a good
You
one.
know, it's only good if you point it out.
Absolutely.
And you spend 5 minutes on it.
But yeah, Pokemon Pinball, Game Boy Color. Mike, I know you have a affinity, and
you have the box.
Ooh, box.
Oh,
hell yeah.
Look at you.
Does a pinball game work in Pokemon?
Absolutely. As I mentioned earlier, like when we were talking about, what makes spin-off special, and I use Pokemon Pinball as an example. I like it's just a basic pinball table, but I love that there is like little meta missions inside each table that you have to hit. Like, let's say you have to hit like the 3 Digletts that are there, and then a random Pokemon appears, or the roulette kind of slot machine thing will happen to either put a modifier on or a random Pokemon appear. Or you can enter like a bonus stage, so you have to get in the middle and enter a really cool bonus stage to collect like Meowth coins and stuff like that. It to me is like the essential like digital pinball game. Granted, the only other pinball game I really played was the space one on Windows 98. But
Heck yeah, you did.
Classic.
I mean, come on.
This is very much above that.
Yes. The fact that they have like catch mode and then also like evolution modes in this game adds a very unique spin onto pinball. That's like something I loved. Like you get like like a 2-minute window?
Something like that, yeah.
To
catch and to evolve.
Yeah, and you have to hit the targets and then
you collect the little lightning bolts, which are experience points.
Yeah. And so that's like the only way you can add evolved Pokemon into the Pokedex, which is something unique and exciting for pinball.
That too. And this game has a Pokedex, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. There's only 2 pinball boards, right?
Red and blue. Yeah.
Yep.
And then there's the bonus boards, but there's mainly just red and blue. Also, to point out, like, this is the first game, possibly the only game, unless Matt corrects me, that actually like has a rumble feature thanks to
not the only
battery in the cart.
It's not
That's
the only
exactly
one.
what my contribution to this conversation was going to be. I liked that it was different looking than all of the other cartridges. It was a thick boy.
It is a thick boy.
There's a Kirby game. I think it's Tilt and Rumble or something to that effect. That also has that rumble feature.
Oh, interesting.
So pinball, where we put on the list? The list right now is Stadium at 1, Mystery Dungeon 2, Go at 3, and then we jump down to Conquest at 8, Puzzle League 9, Trading Card Game at 10.
I think
Pinball
it's a
at
solid
7?
4 right now.
You think
I'm good
below
with
Go?
that.
For me, yes. Like for me,
I would
like
say-
I don't want.
I mean, pinball is very niche.
Yeah.
It's my favorite
Yeah,
Pokemon.
I don't like pinball. Number one, it's a game for people who are smart and understand geometry and physics, which I do not. And I never played Pokemon Pinball, but yeah, it sounds neat like for a pinball game, but
Right.
I think Go as a concept is like neater.
Honestly, if it were me, I would put it right above Puzzle because I think that I liked that game.
Damn.
But here's the
Wow.
thing, like, I don't know who. Okay, well, I'm gonna say who would do this, but apparently probably a lot of people. I like get so bored of that stuff. Like that's why I can't play Tetris forever. That's why I can't play pinball forever. Is because like at its core, it's just like a little arcade game. Like I want something with like a story and progression and like that's just how I am. Like I can't play. I think the only arcade game I can play for an extended period of time is like Galaga, and even then it's not very long.
Sorry, you don't like the lore of Galaga?
No, you know, I couldn't tell you a thing about the lore, but I've been on high scoreboards before.
That's
more of a writer.
Exactly.
Jessica Howard, you might know her from high scoreboards.
Yeah, you might know me as JSK on some scoreboards.
I
Put
think
that in your
that's
Twitter bio.
I think that's a great point, Jess. And for right now, I'm putting it at 8, above Puzzle League, below Conquest.
Wow. Okay.
Mystery Dungeon keeps winning, man.
Let's
Chubby boys.
Let's head to the first time this console shows up on this list, the GameCube for Pokemon Coliseum.
Oh boy.
Ty, what do you have to say about Pokemon Coliseum?
So Pokemon Coliseum is a GameCube game, as you already said.
Great start.
Thank you. I did play it because I had a GameCube. I only had like 3 games on my GameCube. It was like Smash, Pokemon Coliseum, and the Dinosaur Star Fox.
Hell yeah, you did.
Perfect.
My
and
dude.
also Turok. I also had the weird GameCube Turok game.
Oh no.
Anyway, Pokemon Coliseum slaps because like it's another one that kind of subverts the normal trainer situation, because like you go into these battles, right, and instead of catching Pokemon, you can like steal them from or quote unquote snag them from other trainers, which is like normally a big no-no in the RPGs. Like people yell at you if you try to do that, but in this game it's like a key part of that. The main character, the character that you play as, like used to be a bad guy and is now like not, and that's like a fun angle for a Pokemon protagonist, especially because they usually don't really get much other than like, you're a 10-year-old kid.
Your parent left you.
Yep.
You had a great upbringing. Go off to the world.
And your dad is a gym leader.
Or a Pokemon.
Ty,
No,
would
your
you
dad is
say-
a Pokemon now.
Ty, would you say that this game is better than Go in the rankings?
It's been a really long. I haven't like played Coliseum since I was a child. No, I want to say no, but I think mostly just because I think Go would be like more fun for more people, if that makes sense.
Sure.
So I think, but I don't think it would be super far behind Go.
Okay.
You know what I want to say though? I had more fun with Coliseum than I did with Stadium. I'm probably in the minority for that, but
I think
I
that's
didn't play
fair,
Stadium,
though.
so I don't know. But I really love
Coliseum
Coliseum.
has a
I
story.
love Coliseum. I think just because more unique Pokemon. I mean, granted, Stadium only had Gen 1.
Sure.
And
Yeah. it depends.
And of course,
Stadium was-
Coliseum's a more newer.
Yeah, and Stadium was the
Yeah.
first U.S. spinoff.
Yeah. So
Ty, once you're out here, once COVID passes, we will play some Stadium.
Okay.
I think you will enjoy it.
Also, Hey You Pikachu, I want to yell at Pikachu.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's the big snub of this list. I don't know where Hey You Pikachu is. Everybody who voted, all of the kind of NYC fans who voted on this, you're all traitors.
So for right now, I will put Coliseum at 5. Leave a little space between
That seems,
Go and
I
the
think
rest.
a gentleman's 5 is respectable.
Yeah.
Because we all know what's going to take the number 1 spot anyways for what's left.
Yeah.
Matt, since we're running a little late, so let's kind of speed through these last two. Matt, tell us about Pokken.
Pokken is an overly complicated fighter. I don't like it. Let's move on.
No, Pokken is good.
Pokken's good, man.
Pokken.
I don't want to play a tutorial for 2 hours to figure out how to play a fighting game.
You don't have to.
There's a lot in this.
Yo, Matt,
I don't
GG.
like it.
To be fair,
GG.
To be fair, every freaking Pokemon main series game, you have more than a 2-hour tutorial.
To be fair,
Okay,
every
here's-
fighting game you can just pick up and play. Not
Here's
Pokken.
the thing, yeah, is like, so I think, okay, like Pokken is cool because we don't have a Pokemon fighting game, but then you have to throw it in the mix with other fighting games, okay? And other fighting games kick Pokken's butt.
Yeah.
Sure.
I disagree.
Like,
I do not agree. A lot
Soul
of
Calibur, Tekken, Mortal Kombat, all of those are
Soul
better fighting
Calibur
games.
6 was terrible, first
Okay,
of all.
that's true.
So
That's
not
true.
all Soul like that's the thing. A lot of like fighting games like are better maybe as a series, but like a lot of fighting games new as entries are not better than Pokken.
I agree with
Like,
that. Like the
a lot of
series.
the like what is it like the Capcom versus Marvel or whatever?
Okay,
bad.
well, yeah, no, that one's terrible.
Soul Calibur 6 bad.
Whoa,
like
what?
You're
Soul
not
Calibur
wrong.
6 is bad, dude. Pokken is cool. It's fun. It's really fun to play.
Hard
the
disagree.
Pokemon do cool punches.
There's only
Pokken
23
slaps.
fighters,
There wasn't a huge roster.
and 2 of them are
right?
clones?
Pokken slaps. Pokken slaps. You get to take Greninja and you get to do a punch with Greninja. He's wearing a scarf.
Sorry, his tongue.
I wish Pokken had a more roster, like more Pokemon.
Yeah, I do wish there were more
Sure.
Pokemon, but
Yeah,
I think
that's-
that feels like a lack of support more than like the game being bad.
Yeah, I think once
That's true.
they ported it to Switch, I think they added Blastoids and another DLC, and they're like, all right, done, bye.
Yeah,
Yeah, they added 4
Here's
Pokemon,
the
I think.
thing. I think Pokken is a good starting off point for Pokemon doing fighting games.
Sure.
I think it could be a lot better. I don't think it's like a great game right now. But I love Ty's enthusiasm.
The best Pokemon fighting game is
You
Smash
get to take
Brothers.
the Pokemon and you get to punch.
No.
What do you want?
Pokken as a fighting game fails.
So because of Ty's enthusiasm, and I do agree, I think it's a great starting point in Pokemon doing more fighting stuff. It obviously needs a little bit more work. I'm going to put it at 5. I'm going to move Coliseum down to 6. I'll put
gentleman's
Pokken at
5.
5. A gentleman's 5.
Hard disagree with that. Hard disagree with that.
Yeah, very,
But
very
you know
hard
what? We
disagree.
can't
You're not the
disagree on?
moderator, my friends.
The way to
know.
win
So
every
that's
argument is
Mike,
to be
you okay
more
with Pokken
passionate
being
than
above
everyone
trading
else.
card game?
You know what Pokemon Coliseum did?
Can I tell you something that I think we can all agree on? Is how cute Pokemon Snap is.
Can we all agree that Pokemon Snap is the best spin-off of all time?
Here's the thing, though. Pokemon
No,
Snap,
Jake.
Great.
No.
Pokemon Go. You could do Pokemon Snap.
He has a point.
There
Better
is
looking,
nothing
too.
more wholesome than riding around in your little zero G, whatever it is, car as Todd Snap. Yes, Todd Snap. That's his last name. His last name is Snap.
His name is Todd Snap.
Todd Snap. Roaming around.
And you drive a car?
Yeah.
Okay, this game wins.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. There's nothing more wholesome than roaming around Pokemon Island, going to the beach, going to the volcano, going to the river, going to the cave, going to the valley, and then going to the goddamn moon to take a photograph of Mew. Are you kidding me?
Wait, do you drive to the moon?
It flies. It hovers.
And dude, and it's not just taking pictures. Like, sure, like on a base level, this is such a simple game. But the fact that it adds the mechanics, and it's gonna sound real freaking stupid. The fact that it adds mechanics of apples and Buster Balls.
No.
To
Those apples mechanics, man.
Love those apple physics.
to just open up new possibilities of new Pokemon poses and even like making new Pokemon appear. Like, for example, with the apple, like in the first stage, the beach stage, if you throw an apple towards the Pikachu and lead him to the surfboard, you get a picture of surfing Pikachu, and it's a special picture. If you throw an apple and you freaking knock a Charmander into a fire pit, he evolves into a freaking Charmeleon and Charizard. It's great.
The other thing too is like going off of that, Mike, like the photo mechanics in the Alola games, like wouldn't be a thing without that. I don't think, because those have like all the backgrounds and the poses and like they every time you get to a new town in Alola, they're like, don't forget to take pictures. Like,
there's one reason Pokemon Snap is the best Pokemon spinoff, and that's the fact that you could go to a Blockbuster and print out stickers of your photos,
and you get that card, and you feel like a boss with that card. You feel like you're part of the elite goddamn four, and you are just skyrocketing with your little stickers. And you just go to school the next day, like, look what I got, you little bastards.
But you know what sucks for people that did not have a Blockbuster in their area?
You know what? It sucks for people who live in rural America and can't play goddamn Pokemon Go. Jacob,
Jacob, yeah, Jacob. Where are you falling on that one?
I am very fine, as much as I was like the Stadium stan who was defending it. I'm very fine with Snap being number one. I think that Snap is like a national treasure for a lot of people, and it's very sweet, and I think it captures, whereas stuff like Conquest and Stadium and Poké, and it's all about like fighting and like and like that's what the games have, that fighting element, right? But I think where Pokemon shines, where it's heartfelt and genuine, is when you have like just Pokemon just living their lives, just being sweet little creatures, and that's what Snap is all about. Just vibing, and like Snap is about that. It's not about catching them, it's not about training them, it's not about making them fight. It's just like going and respecting their environments and just taking some photos. You know, it's like the whole like leave nothing but tracks, take nothing but photos or whatever in those little parks, right? And like that's cute and sweet. I like that. I appreciate Snap.
Now, the last point I want to make really quick, and it's not really a point. I found the phone number for the Pokemon Snap stations, and I wanted to call it really quick. The world was on fire that day when the sequel came out. Like this, this was originally.
Hi. Thank you for calling Nintendo. We're experiencing a high volume of calls, and there are a lot of people waiting.
It's just customer service.
Look at that! People are still calling. People are still calling for Pokemon Snap.
I feel like this was staged. Mike had so many people calling in before the podcast
because the fervor is still there. Not only on the phone lines, but Pokemon Snap 2 is incoming. Snap is number one. So our final rankings are: number 10, trading card game; number 9, Puzzle League; number 8, Pinball; number 7, Conquest; number 6, Coliseum; number 5, Pokken; number 4, Go; number 3, Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team DX; number 2, Stadium; and number 1, Pokemon Snap.
Yeah, chubby friends come out on top.
I think the lesson that we should take away from this is that N64 killed it, and Japan, you're silly for thinking that N64 did not slap when Snap and Stadium are fantastic games.
Absolutely. I think it really shows with our number 1 and number 2 that us wanting to still hold the Pokemon magic in a spinoff. You have the cuteness of the Pokemon in Snap, and then you have what you're playing Pokemon for is the battling in Stadium.
My goal today was to get Snap at number 1, and I accomplished that goal. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
There you go.
I appreciate it.
I was trying to get Puzzle League at 10.
It was number 9.
Yeah, it got close.
I'm fine.
And I want to end with our friend Alec at Arpanine, who wanted to highlight Hey You Pikachu, the biggest omission from this top 10, but he comes with some really deep lore. So I want to read the lore of how this game ends. Eventually, if the player reaches day 365, Professor Oak appears and says that Pikachu has to be released as it is a wild Pokemon. The player has to go to the woods where Pikachu was found and say goodbye several times, upon which Pikachu realizes it can't live with the player anymore and, sadly, leaves. After the credits, while the player is looking around the front yard and reminiscing about Pikachu, it returns and the game continues as if Pikachu was never released. That's how that game ends, everybody.
Why would they make you suffer that trauma.
Yeah. Hey, you
No.
Pikachu is the
Hey-
poor man's Seaman. So
Hey
no.
You Pikachu is a fantastic game. I'm very sad it wasn't on this list. That game meant a lot to me as a kid because like you wake up every morning and Pikachu's just like, "Hey, want to hang out?" And you wake up in your little bedroom with your TV. You can like play video games with him. You guys can go on a picnic together.
And you say the same words 10 times, waiting for it to register.
No, okay. You know what? I think people just need to enunciate because I didn't have problems with him. All right.
Yes, these 5-year-old children need to enunciate.
Yeah.
Can we take a timeout though?
They do.
Who the hell played that game for 365 days?
Yeah, nobody played this game for 365
I
days.
didn't get to the ending, no.
And
it's a very sweet and charming game though. Like just like being a kid having like your own Pokemon in your room that you can just hang out with. It's so cute.
Until
And
apparently it rips your heart out.
They made a sequel for GameCube,
Good.
which is wild. Pokemon
Make
Channel.
another one
It's
for
a
make another
sequel.
one for Switch.
Crazy.
Yeah, I'll yell at Make one for mobile. I want to yell at Pikachu on my phone.
With the dust settled, those are the very best ranked like no other ever was. A huge thank you to everyone who voted for their top Pokemon spin-offs and to all of you for watching our first panel. Did we get it right? Are you screaming in chat? Let us know on Twitter. Thank you so much to Ty and Jess for joining us. Where can everyone follow you and your work?
You can follow me at Just Jess is Fine on Twitter. I work at Uppercut Crit as the managing editor. I don't know why I said crit. I did the thing that other people do when they talk about us. I work at Uppercut and I'm the managing editor, and I'm also an intern at Paste now.
Yeah.
Pretty cool little development. And Ty, I'll pass it on to you. My EIC.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So you can follow me on Twitter at TY_G8Rs. I am Uppercut's EIC, so you can find us over there at Uppercut Crit. And also, I float around some other game sites sometimes, so just follow me on
Every
Twitter,
game
you'll probably
site.
see it.
Absolutely.
Literally every game site.
They are well worth the
Several.
follow, so please go check them out. And as far as Kinda NYC, you can find us at KindaNYC.com, at Kinda NYC on Twitter, twitch.tv/Kinda NYC, and youtube.com/Kinda NYC. Jake Palmer is at JakeP47, Matthew Wright at Nerdy Island, Mike Towndrow at MixTowndrow, and I am at WhoDatNinja73. Thank you all once again for tuning in, and remember, it's not about how many gym badges you've earned, it's about the friends you made along the way on your adventure. Stay safe, and we love you.
Aw.
Aw.
Aw.